Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today is day 3 of covering every champion in the game, and today we will be looking at the Cosmic class. As a reminder, we will be looking at a different class every day this week, so that we cover the entire tier list ready for December's champions. So let's dive in. I will be going through this list in the same order I went through the other ones, in columns, starting at 10-10, then going down to 10-1, 9-10, 9-1, and so on. This leads us then to the champion that I, and many others, believe to be the best champion in the game, Hercules, the only champion at 10-10. This has been a slightly controversial placement, but let me try and justify it. Hopefully the 10 out of 10 in how often can they peak is fairly self-explanatory. There is not a single part of the game where Hercules is not an amazing option. Story, he can do a lot of it. Alliance War, you'll see him there. Alliance Quest, probably the most used champion. Eternity of Pain, great option. Grandmaster's Gauntlet, you'll see him there too. And so on. Hercules can be used in pretty much any context in the game. The only thing you really have to watch out for is a champion that can reliably strip away his buffs, so we're looking at maybe Rintrah and Sorceress Supreme after her special 1, and perhaps a few other mystics. Given how good his matchups are, I don't think anyone can deny that Hercules gets a 10 for how often he can be used. He is used everywhere. Now for the slightly more controversial bit. How good is he when you use him? And in my eyes, he's a 10. The numbers he can throw out are very, very high for a champion with his amount of utility. And his ability when awakened to just say no to dying, and then to continue to drag the fight out, cannot be understated about how powerful it is. You will find 1,000,001 examples on YouTube or wherever you want to look of Hercules going into a fight that he should not work for, probably getting killed pretty early on, and then just cheesing the entire rest of the fight while being fully unblockable, and he doesn't care if he gets hit. He also has True Sense on his special 1, allowing him to bypass miss and auto block, a very reliable stun on his special 2, and indestructible and potentially power gain on his special 3. The argument could be made that Hercules should have a 10-9, as in 10 often and 9 good, and I could certainly see that argument. However, given just how dominant he is in the game, I think a 10-10 is warranted. There is no other champion that even comes close to how good Hercules is. Moving on to 10-1 then, straight into the depression, we have Captain Marvel OG and Miss Marvel. They are both very bad and outdated characters, they have relatively no abilities to speak of, so there's not much I can really comment on here. Up to 9-9, we have Corvus Glaive. Corvus was one of the first champions I ranked using this system, and it has evolved quite significantly since then. I believe he needs a new placement. Where, though, I'm not entirely sure. Corvus has very good damage and very reliable crits once he gets going, and also has bleed and shock pseudo-immunities as long as they're debuffs. His awakened ability to also just say no to dying is very, very powerful, but it still doesn't help me where to place him. Corvus is a champion that has a reach. He has 20 charges for his crits, and if those charges run out, he has very poor damage. Where do we place him? Do I place him as a specialist, that his ideal situation is simply when you have a big enough Corvus? A rank 5, 65, 6-star ascended Corvus with full boost and recoil tree has a very large range, and his ability to chain special 2s is very powerful. But that isn't the sort of area we're trying to look at. Corvus will be changing, but to where, I'm not entirely sure. He's still a very powerful character. I could see him ending up in 9-8, just one down, or maybe something slightly different like 10-7. Both are possible, as are others. Moving down to 9-8, we have Hulkling. Very good character, great access to unblockable, big furies, lots of buffs, a very good cosmic staple. Gamora is similar, though with a little bit less utility. Excellent buffs in terms of both potency and quantity, and is a very reliable miscounter once she gets going. Down in 9-2, we have Black Bolt, Groot, and Miss Marvel Kamala Khan. All three of them are relatively outdated and can't really do very much. With the Hitmonkey synergy, Black Bolt can actually hit surprisingly hard, but no synergies on this tier list. Down in 9-1, depressingly, we have Thanos. He is a trophy champion, and that's pretty much it. He doesn't do anything, really. If any champion needs a buff, that's my vote. Up to 8-7, we have Angela, Captain Marvel movie, and Hyperion. Angela can hit very, very hard, she has great buffs, and also her ability just to say no to all damaging debuffs is very, very powerful when she's awakened. Captain Marvel movie also has very solid damage output, and the indestructible from her SIG ability can be very powerful if used in the right place. Hyperion may be a bit of an old champion, but he absolutely still pulls his weight. Excellent damage from either the Special 1 or the Special 2, having constant access to that power gain is really nice. SIG is very helpful, but SIG 20 is absolutely fine. In 8-6, we have King Groot, Silver Surfer, and Venompool. King Groot has amazing damage. Once you get him going, the longer the fight goes on, the better his damage gets. His SIG also gives him amazing regen and makes him one of the most survivable champions in the game. Silver Surfer has some good damage and some buffs when he gets going. Build up the buffs, get more red damage, and the burst from his Special 2 is very, very nice. A possible demotion to 8-5, but we'll see. Venompool has amazing damage when he gets going, great buffs, he actually has burst damage, and the bleed damage he can get from his Special 3 or his Special 1 is very, very powerful. The ability to keep it going for a long time is surprisingly underrated. His regeneration against armor champions is also absurd. Possible promotion to 8-7, but I might have to curtail myself slightly there. At 8-5, we have Airwalker and Venom the Duck. Airwalker has surprisingly good damage once you get him going. It takes 2 fights and then you have to get to a Special 3, but that Power of Galactus buff is one of the most potent single buffs in the entire game. Synergies do help him out a lot, but again, not being considered here. Venom the Duck, when you get him ramped, is very good. He has great buffs, great damage, and the toxic armor from his Special 2 is really interesting with how it interacts with high armored opponents. Down in 8-4, we have Annihilus, Heimdall, Phoenix, and OG Thor. Annihilus has decent damage and utility, though they are a little bit annoying to keep going. Heimdall is only really used for his synergy, and actually using the champion isn't really worthwhile. Possible demotion to 8-3. Phoenix has okay damage and a lot of fury buffs, but they aren't very big and she doesn't do much else. She's much better with synergies, but we're not including those here. OG Thor needs that SIG, and preferably every 6 stone you can throw at him, and then the damage is pretty good, but doesn't do anything else apart from that. He has reliable stuns, but that's not enough to rescue him. Down in 8-3, we have Symbiote Spider-Man and Super Skrull. Symbiote Spider-Man has okay Special 2 damage and an evade, but that's about it. Super Skrull has so much you need to do to get him to a state where he's usable, and even then he's only okay. You've got to go through 2 full cycles of Special 1s and Special 2s at just the right moment, and make sure you use just the right action, and then you get some incinerates, and that's it. He's not great. Good on defense, though. At 8-2, we have Drax and Superior Iron Man. Both are relatively outdated and bad, and I'm sorry Drax, bleeds aren't enough to rescue you from this box. You can use them anywhere you like, really, but they aren't going to do very much there. Up to 7-9, we have Cosmic Ghost Rider. Insane damage potential. Absolutely absurd damage cap on this guy. In fact, he hits every damage cap in the game. He does have a certain level of skill and knowledge required to play him at his best, but he is an amazing champion with lots of buffs and debuffs. Really, really good. Down into 7-7, we have Red Goblin and Venom. Red Goblin has some very high damage potential and actually holds the record for the highest Incinerate tick ever recorded. Comment if you know where he got that. Very good champion. Does need that SIG, but SIG 1 is fine. The more buffs on him, the better. Venom, much like Hyperion, seems to be just getting better and better with age. relatively speaking, he's quite a simple champion. He just gains buffs and you hit the opponent, special 1 to remove their buff, special 2 to get your furies. But that simple kit seems to be doing so much. With the introduction of the Venom Relic, he's been taken to a whole new level. A very, very good champion. At 7-6, we have Nova. Originally considered a dud on release, he's actually been seeing more and more use recently. Most of his damage comes from his big mediums, and it's such a shame about the SIG requirement and the fact his specials don't feel that great to throw off. However, non-contact mediums with really, really high damage have been shown to be surprisingly versatile. Maybe give them a try if you have them lying around at a decent SIG. Down in 7-4, we have Icarus and Terrax. Icarus's damage comes from his big special 3s, but getting there can be quite annoying. You need to throw some heavies, some special 1s, then a couple of special 2s to double, and then go in for your special 3. The ramp up's a bit clunky, and the damage isn't even that brilliant after you get there. Terrax is okay, he's got his passive rock field damage, and also some very big heavies once you know how to play him. Really, he's a defensive champion, and not much else. Up into 6-7, we have the Vox. Degens, degens, degens. This guy is an absolute degen machine, and has some very, very high DOT potential. At 6-6, we have Proxima. Potentially the weirdest champion we have in MCOC, because on paper, she's absurd. She easily has access to some of the biggest specials in the game, and yet no one ever uses her, simply because it's slightly annoying to get them. I think Proxima should actually get a lot more love than she does, but 6-6 for now. At 6-5, we have Carnage and Obsidian. Carnage has some amazing damage when he gets going, but he really, really likes deep wounds, so that's sort of a requirement for playing him if you want his bleed damage. Obsidian also has some amazing damage when he gets going, but you need to ramp him up. The block proficiency hurts a little bit, but again, I think he should get a little bit more love than he does. Over to 5-8, we have Null. A bit slow to ramp up, and you have to do it every fight, but his damage is amazing once you get him going, and he can regen, has degen, has armor breaks, lots of them. So this also makes him a relatively good regen counter if you have the Despair Mastery. At 5-7, we have Gore. Lots of buffs, lots of debuffs, big special 3s, damage over time. Gore is a very good character, and can do a surprising amount with his different cycles. At 5-6, we have Cersei. She has some very good damage once you get that special 2 going, and having that glancing is a really nice safety net in high damage fights. At 4-8, we have Gallon, potentially the burst damage king. The ability to chuck off sort of 200k damage in burst off a special is very, very nice, but we have to consider the situations we can use him. In matchups such as Penny or Viv, Gallon goes a little bit mental and gains his charges very, very quickly, but in the vast majority of fights, this interaction won't take place, so this is why he gets 4-8. Still a very, very good champion. At 4-7, we have Adam Warlock. If they play nice, you can get some serious damage going. Great buffs, and that pod of his is very, very powerful. The problem is, it's very easy to lose some of your ramp up by doing simple things like parrying or waiting too long. With the right AI, Adam Warlock is very, very good, and there are some amazing Necropolis solos using him, but you need them to play ball. In 3-9, we have Medusa. Are they a robot? More like a no-bot. 2 armor breaks, special 1, and they gain no power and have no ability accuracy. You can just spam heavies in the corner, go for a special 3 for another armor shattered, go round and round and round. You can lock down pretty much every robot in the game very, very easily. Don't try on Dragon Man. At 3-6, we have Gladiator and Vision Arcus. Gladiator also needs moving, but I'm slightly unsure exactly to where. It will most likely to be 1-6 or sort of 7-3. This is because when you attack into the opponent whilst they're performing a special attack, Gladiator can get a lot of extra burst damage on every single hit. However, there aren't that many champions you can attack into whilst they're doing a special attack. The ones that come to mind are Obsidian and the Roar on his special 1, and Mole Man and the pauses on his special one. But you don't want to be attacking a champion while they're doing a special attack because you might get hit. Outside those situations, Gladiator is not a very good champion. His damage is fine, but certainly not up there for a modern day champion. His ramp up is clunky, and the utility he comes with isn't great. Keep an eye on him, but it most likely won't be positive. Vision Arcus is a halfway house between Medusa and Hyperion, both champions that are significantly older than him, but somehow he's not as good as either of them. His power gain is good, but not as good as Hyperion's until he gets going, and the armor shatter isn't as easy to access as it is for Medusa, hence removing that point from him. He's much more suited to defense, and he's very annoying there. At 2-7, we have Odin and the champion. Odin gets better and better as the opponent's health pool goes up, because he is one of the very, very few champions that can deal percentage-based damage. For each buff on him, the opponent is struck for a percentage of their maximum health, up to a cap. This makes him very, very good in high health pool fights, but not as good outside them. The champion has surprisingly good damage when you get him ramped, and those armor breaks he gets from medium intercepts are very, very potent. He is particularly strong on the last node of a quest, so that boss node, hence why he gets a 2-7. Up in 110, as explained in the original video, we have Ronan. The best champion in the game, sometimes. If the opponent has enough buffs, that's it, game over. One special one, that's that. In 1-9, finally we have Hela, a very tricky champion to play right, and does quite like synergies and masteries, but we can't include all of that here. However, when you can get her right, her damage is disgusting, and we can't overlook that. So, those have been my thoughts on every cosmic champion in the game. Maestro will be on next month's tier list, and you'll get my thoughts about him then, but we've covered everyone else. Coming tomorrow, we have the Mystic list, and then the Science, and finally Skill on Saturday. If you think I've got anyone wrong, do let me know down below, and I also have a Discord server where you can shout at me there instead. Thank you, and I will see you next time.